Hello, Wide Open Adventures family. I just said Wide Open Adventures. I was working on the other channel, guys. Sorry about that. Abnormal family, and I guess if you're joined up on our Wide Open page, you are Wide Open family also. Oh man, I've got an encounter for you guys, and it's going to be a unique encounter, and I'm going to give a little bit of my theories and opinions at the end, and I'll look forward to hearing your all's. If you'd like to support Bringing Hunter Home, the links are in the description along with the P.O. box if you would like to send something to Hunter. And let's go ahead and get into this encounter. This happened April 30th of 2019. The moon was a waning crescent that night at a 16% illumination of the moon. I am a cryptozoologist, but before I tell you my story, let me tell you how I got interested in the crypto world. When I was little, I would spend a lot of my summers in the Blue Mountains with my aunt and uncle who had a turkey farm. They had other animals, but turkeys was their main income. I was 6 years old, and it was about 4:30 or 5 in the morning, and I was going to my uncle's house to help take care of the animals and to grab a baby bunny to play with for a little while. My uncle put his hand on my shoulder, and he told me to be quiet, and he will not hurt you. All he wants is his breakfast. I was trying to figure out what he was talking about when all of a sudden this huge hairy man stepped out from behind a massive tree and stared at us for what seemed like hours, but it was probably only a few seconds. He then reached over the fence, grabbed a turkey, and slung it around to break its neck. He stared at us for a few more seconds, and then he stepped back behind the tree and disappeared off into the woods. I asked my uncle, what was that? Now, my uncle was a Yukon Yurok Indian, and he told me that it was an ancient human. He told me that he supplies him with food once in a while, and the ancient people let him live on their land. So I became hooked, and I became a cryptozoologist. I live in Oklahoma. One day my son and I was coming home from visiting family, and we was driving through town where I grew up. My son asked if we could go to the old Union Cemetery and see what we could hear. It is supposed to be haunted. So anyway, I agree, and we drive to it. By this time, it was pretty dark now. My son was doing an internship with the Oklahoma State Game Warden, and my son had called and told them we would be out there. You have to let an official know if you're going to be in the cemetery after dark. We was about halfway into the middle of the cemetery when we hear what sounded like a grizzly bear say, "Go," but in like a grizzly bear voice. My son and I looked at each other and asked, "What did you say?" at the same time. About this time, we started getting the feeling we was being stalked. I was not prepared to be on a hunt. My mentor, J.C. Johnson, taught me first thing, never hunt without a weapon. We turned our flashlights around and turned them to low to the ground, and we saw what appeared to be two eyes, and they looked like cat eyes. Big cat's eyes. It was a black leopard. Yes, it was a leopard and not a panther, because panthers are not considered a cryptid because they are discovered. So I was happy to even see one. But we knew we was in danger. So we walked back to the gate, all the while being stalked by this cat. We could hear it following us. It was crouched and hunting us. We got out of the gate, locked it, and got in the car, and then went home. At about 3 a.m., my son gets a phone call from the Oklahoma State Game Warden. We will call him Tim. Tim asked my son, "You and your mom was out at the old Union Cemetery, right?" Which my son replied, "Yes, you know we was, because we called you and the sheriff's department to let you know that we would be out there in case there was somebody calling wondering what somebody was doing in the cemetery late at night." My son told him we was stalked out of there by a big cat. Tim told my son, I need you and your mom to come back to the cemetery. Now, this cemetery is a little over an hour from where we live. My son asked, why do we need to come back out there? It's a long drive for us, and it's late at night. Tim told my son that his mom, which was me, was the only cryptozoologist he knows, and there are some prints I need to look at, and there is a big dead cat in the middle of the cemetery that some hunters found. So we get dressed, and we drive back to my hometown. And when we get there, he explains that hunters did not find the dead cat, that actually they had went out to check on us and had found the dead cat laying there. But they had to be careful of what they was saying because they didn't want everybody to hear what was going on and needed to keep this somewhat under wraps. And in the middle of a cemetery, there was a big black panther with its neck twisted all the way around. Tim showed me the footprints in the mud. These prints was 19 inches long and had a mid-tarsal break, which you only see in primates. I, later that day, called my mentor JC and told him what happened. He told me that I know Sasquatches can verbalize basic words, and it knew the cat was stalking us, so it probably is what we heard say go that sounded like a bear. It was telling us to get out of the cemetery because I believe it knew that that cat was hunting us, and it killed it to save our life. I believe Sasquatch protected us that day. You know, number one, you can tell that, the game warden is trying to keep this under wraps and trying to keep it quiet, which is, I don't think, out of the ordinary. Our government doesn't want a lot of this getting out. Also, she said it protected her. That goes back to kind of what me and Brooks was talking about. Okay, if our opinions are right on these, and we have a theory that if they are descendants of the Nephilim, and they know that they don't have a chance at Judgment Day to go to heaven, I think some of them are saddened that they fell and wish they would not have failed, and I think that they're hoping that they have a chance to be redeemed. And even if they know they don't have a chance to be redeemed, maybe they're just decided that they're not going to follow the evil ways. I'm not sure. Because we do find sometimes where they do help. But, I'm not telling you to trust them because I believe that all of them are dangerous. They're like a wild animal. Even though I know they're not an animal, they're a very intelligent being. But I treat them as if they're an animal, that they are, the wild part, that they can't be trusted, that they can always turn. I believe it's possible that some of them feel like that, they shouldn't have failed. They probably regret falling. And maybe that's where you find, some of them that are nice, as we call them, that believe that possibly they're redeemable by their actions. But we all know, that our actions are never good enough, that we can never be good enough to be able to be saved, that we had to have Christ for that. So that's where I believe that it's dangerous to be around these. But, anyway, that's just my opinion and my theory. I'm not saying that I'm right, and I'm not pushing that off on you. Let me know your opinions in the chat. I really look forward to reading what you all believe in the comments. Hey, thank you guys very much for everything you're doing. Thank you for being part of this community. If you haven't subscribed, I'd like to invite you to subscribe to our channel and become part of our family. And until next time, guys, keep your head on a swivel. Don't be something's dinner. And we will see you on the next one.